Hello, this is Emmanuel Bakare, and this time we're going to be talking about Python functions. What's a function? A function is a block of code that runs whenever it is initiated or called. A function helps us to break a very large program into small, understandable, and reusable pieces. It is like putting an action or task in your program into a block or a group of codes. With functions, repetitive codes or action does not have to be written over again. You only have to call the functions to do it as many times as you want. To define a function, we must start with the word def, followed by the function name, a function argument or parameter, as some programming language will call it, a column, then the function code block. Information passed into the function name is called the parameter or an argument. You can add as many arguments as you want, but you will separate them with a comma. This is an example. You can add several arguments in your function. You have argument 1, argument 2, argument 3. So it doesn't have to be just argument. It could be several arguments in your code. Let's take an example of a simple function. The function is going to be called greet. So we have def, which is word to define a function. Then the name of the function is greet. And I'm going to put in an argument which I will call the message. So this argument could be any, you can call it any name. Then a column. Then underneath the function, I'm going to print hello MSG. So when you run this function, it expects you to put in a parameter, an argument, and then it's going to print out hello, the name, whatever you put in that argument. Functions don't just work automatically. You have to call it using the same format you declared it. So the declaration of this function is greet MSG. So if I want to call this function now, I'm just going to do greet MSG. This MSG is supposed to take in a parameter. So I will say Emmanuel. This is how you run your function. You have to call it. So using greet MSG, this is supposed to represent greet MSG, the MSG. So it's going to print out hello, whatever you put in as your MSG. So it's going to print out hello Emmanuel. This is what the MSG is represented as in this place. You can see the result here is hello Emmanuel. Let's take another example. Let's make a function that makes lemonade. So I'm going to call it def make lemonade. And I'm going to put in ingredient 1, ingredient 2, and ingredient 3. Now this basically takes in 3 parameters and it prints out mix ingredient 1, 2, and 3 to make lemonade. I'm going to use the format method, the string format method, to print out the results. So that will be IGR1, IGR2, IG3. So now this code will is a function that takes in three ingredients, and when you call it, it takes in three ingredients. When you call it, it prints out mix ingredient one. That is whatever you put in here, whatever you put in here, and whatever you put in these three arguments, it prints them out to say to make lemonade. So let me just run this code right now. So I'll say make lemonade. Like I told you, you have to run the code. So I'm gonna put in the three. This make lemonade takes in three arguments. So I'll say lemon, sugar, and water. If you see right here, this I'm calling the function here. This function, I'm calling it right here. So when I call this function, it actually print out this mix lemon, sugar, water to make lemonade. To make lemonade. So this is what you have here. So this is how function works. It takes in it's a block of code. This could be just one line, it could be 1,000 line, depending on what this function is meant to do. And it takes in argument, it takes in lots of arguments, and then it works on those arguments and uses it to produce or print out a result. Some function takes in an argument and returns a result. For instance, in this case, we didn't return a result, we only printed the result. But if we want to return the result, what we do is I'm gonna take out this. We use the keyword return. So let me say return make lemonade. So right here, I'm running this code, but the return method says make lemonade. Now, because I didn't add print, let me comment this one, because I didn't put a print in the command. Let me put it back. So this is what it was. So I have actually comment this out because I didn't put a print. It actually returned this. It gave out this as the output, but it's not printed in the standard output. So if I want to print it, I'm going to put this word in a print statement. So you see, it says make lemonade. That's what is returning. It's returning a string which says make lemonade. If I say return 45, it's going to return 45. This is the return value. So this could be lots of code, and then you get a return value in the code. So some function will take in an argument and return the value. Let's take another example. Let me take a simple example for an addition function. I'll say def add, let me say add to A, B. So these are the arguments. It's taking two arguments and it returns A plus B. So the result, if you run this code right now, let me comment out this so we don't have any output anymore. So if you run this code right now, if you say print add, like I said, if you just run the code, say 4 and 5, that is, I'm actually running this function. It has actually done it, but because I just returned the value, it has actually returned it nowhere. So I want to return it to the standard output, which is, I'm going to use the print command to return it to a standard output. So the value is 9. If you don't want to return it to a standard output, if you want to return it to a variable, you can just return it to, say, sum equals this function. This function returns a value, so I can now print out the sum. So right here it's going to print out 9. So If I change the value here, you'll see it's going to print out 19. So the function does the addition, and then the moment I run the function, I'm putting the parameters that are specified right here. Is going to give me back the result, the expected result. I can also have another function that doesn't take in a value, doesn't take in an argument, and doesn't return an output. There are several ways you can do that, and you can also have the one that doesn't take in an argument but returns a value. So it depends on how you want to run your code. For instance, if I have A, B, and I'm storing say 40 and 5 in AB. This is a multiple assignment. I'm assigning 40 to A and 5 to B. So I'm going to run a function add, and then it returns A plus B. It actually takes this A plus B and then returns it. So if I run my function here, let me print out the result. It's going to give me 45. So from here, in this instance, the values are external, and the function only add the external values together and then gives me the result. So it doesn't take in a parameter. This is not as flexible as this one that we did here. This is flexible because when you call it, you can change the parameter, but in this instance is always going to give you 40 plus 50. But in this instance, you can change. In this one, you can change. You can do multiple of it. But if you do multiple of this, it's still going to give you the same result because it's not taking in a parameter. Again, this function add2 takes in two parameters and returns a value. The returned value is put into a variable called sum. I did 2, so I could actually say 1 and 2 and print out 1 and 2. So I ran the function here and I ran another of the function here, passing in several different variables, and I printed out the results. The first and second result, first one is 64, the second one is 97. The second function, this function takes in a parameter, returns a result, but this function does not take in a parameter but returns a result, and it takes that result, it takes the parameters from the external program. So if you print this twice, is always going to be adding 40 plus 50, and the result will be 90 and 90.